Pleasure to be talking with you.
Hey, it's my pleasure.
Got a lot of things to ask you about, actually.
Okay.
First of all, I heard some news the other day that your band leader, Tom, was involved in a little plane crash.
You know what? I just found out about that this morning. It's funny, someone else called me, and they had read about it in the paper. So I called the office to kind of get the scoop. And I guess the most important thing is he's absolutely fine and landed without incident. But apparently he was up about 15,000 feet, and his power cut in half. So he had to radio in for an emergency landing. I think it was in Lexington, Kentucky.
It kind of shows what kind of piloting skills he has.
So he's been a pilot for, I don't know how many years. An awful long time. So and I couldn't tell you how many hours he's logged, but obviously he landed just fine. So we're all happy about that because I think we have a gig this weekend. So we're glad he's going to make that. And I don't know if this is official yet, but we were asked to play at the Patriots playoff game.
That's got to be exciting for you.
Being a Patriots fan and a long-suffering one until the last few years.
Well, that's what I mean. I mean, they're playing so well. 12 wins in a row.
They're 14-2. They ended the season 14-2. The only thing is, we were asked to play the Star-Spangled Banner, and they're predicting the temperature is going to be a nice round 0 for the game. So. We're still waiting to see if that's going to happen, but it seems like it is. Didn't
you play one of their games in Foxborough back in November?
No, we played for one of the playoff games for the Red Sox when they played Oakland. We played Game 5 of that series.
Okay.
At Fenway Park. Okay. So that was pretty cool. That was the first time I ever played it at Fenway Park.
Fenway, that had to be something else.
Yeah.
Too. Well, here on the Point in Little Rock, we play your Star-Spangled Banner every weekday afternoon at 5 o'clock. We've been doing that for the last
great
2
to
years.
hear.
Yeah, it's our 5 o'clock anthem.
Interesting about that song, I believe that when Tom wrote that arrangement, originally it was supposed to be he was asked to do it for a Patriots game.
Really?
And then he got so consumed in it, and of course, like a lot of Boston projects, it took a little longer to record than we expected. So I think the season went by before he finished it. But when he finally got finished with it, he was so pleased with it that, of course, when we went out on the next tour, we opened every show with it, and the fans seemed to like it a lot too. And it's actually a lot of fun to play. I think it's a pretty cool arrangement. I can't think of any other arrangements that are quite like that. So it's always it's an honor to be asked to play at special occasions like this too.
No kidding, and a playoff game too.
Yeah,
that's just got to be incredible. I also got a word from one of my news sources that you guys got together and did a couple rehearsals in December.
Yes, we did.
And didn't have any gigs scheduled other than your football game appearances. Is there any plans for another tour this year?
Well, we're kind of hopeful, but there isn't anything specific at the moment. But we did, this past summer, we did 54 shows, I think it was, in about 10 weeks. So
wow.
It was a really busy schedule, but it really, the band just really pulled together for it. We had, obviously, a lot of rehearsal before that. We've got plenty of new members in the band this time around too, and I know Tom was just so happy with the lineup that, and it's always like that. By the end of the tour, you kind of wish, you could just keep going.
Right.
So, and the fact that actually more than a couple of members who don't really live in the New England area. So that's why we called rehearsal there not too long ago, just to sort of get everyone together. You never know when things are going to come up. Like that was before we actually got the call about doing this football game.
Okay.
So it's kind of nice that we're able to get together. We're not able to rehearse like I say, if we all lived within an hour of one another, it'd be easy just to get together. But it's a bit of a project to make the flight reservations and everything for everyone.
I understand that. Well,
we're hoping we will get a chance to go out again next summer.
Hopefully we can bring you back to Little Rock. I think 95.
Yeah, I'd love to do that. Well, it's funny. I was just thinking about that because if I'm not mistaken, I think the last time we played in Little Rock, I know it was right outside on the water, It was actually a nice sort of a park.
Amphitheater Park, yes.
Yeah, and I believe the temperature was, I know it was over 100. I think it might have been 108.
It was the middle of July.
And it made me think about that because, like I say, the next gig we're doing, I think, is going to be 0. So that's probably the two extremes for Boston. But we had a great time. I remember having a terrific time. Soundcheck, I remember I must have lost 15 pounds because it was just so hot. But the crowd was terrific, and it's sometimes those kind of shows, they kind of, I guess, test your mettle. But people were great, and we really had a great time. So, I'd love to come back and do that again. Maybe we could split the difference temperature-wise.
Yeah, that would be fine with all of us.
Sure.
One of your other projects, how's the Delp Goodrow album? Release party not too long ago.
Yes, we did, and that's kind of funny how all that came about. Barry and I, of course, have worked on different projects over the years. I worked on his first solo record. That was back in 1980. And then we did a project, RTZ was the name of it. We did a tour with that, which was a lot of fun. So we record out of Barry's house, and it's almost, when we get together, it's really almost as much of a social get-together as anything. It's a lot of fun for me to do because I have complete autonomy as far as the singing goes, and I leave all the music stuff to Barry. So I sort of look at it that way. Before we knew it, we had enough songs to do, to put a CD together. And I think it was right before the Boston tour started this summer. I got a call from Barry, and he said, "Hey, I'm thinking of starting up a website, and we've got these tunes together." So that it almost took me by surprise, the fact that we had enough material to release something. And then Barry, again, decided to sort of do it on his own and release it through his website, which we've done. One of the local stations here picked up on it, got a hold of it through someone, and started playing one of the songs on it, and it got a fairly good response here locally. So they really set up a CD release party at the Hard Rock in Boston, which was great. It's always nice to have different projects going, and so Barry and I have done a few shows. It was actually sort of an RTZ reunion. We got basically that whole band back together to do these shows. Did you do
the Orion the Hunter stuff on that tour?
We did. We did one song off of Orion the Hunter because, of course, I wasn't on that record, but Fran Cosmo was,
right,
who's, of course, been with Boston here for the last few tours. We did a song called All Those Years for that, which I actually co-wrote with Barry, and they used to do when we did the RTZ tour. And then we did a song called Dreams. It was off of Barry's first CD, and some RTZ stuff, and obviously, about half of the new CD as well. So that was a lot of fun. So I got that going, and between that and Boston rehearsals, and then some people are aware that I have a Beatle band as well that I've been doing. I think this will be 11 years now that we've been doing that.
Wow.
And we've been playing pretty much every weekend. We took off a bit for the holidays, so we haven't played in the last couple weeks, but we've got gigs lined up. Actually had to move one of them for this football game, which is okay. We just do little clubs in and around the Boston area, so it's fairly flexible.
So if I was to make it to Boston and catch one of your Beetlejuice club appearances, what type of Beatles music? Do you stick to one era? Or there are actually 5 people in the band, so that tells you right away that we don't sort of do the look-alike thing, and that was never our intent. But we have a keyboard player along with the guitars and drums, which allows us to really kind of cover everything. So we do everything from the early songs, Star Standing There, and Hard Day's Night, and all of those. And we were also able to do I Am the Walrus and Strawberry Fields, and ones that you don't hear all the time. So it's just a great deal of fun for me. Well, I have to give you a couple of congratulations. I found out back in November that your first Boston album had been certified multi-platinum. I believe it was right around Thanksgiving, 17 million copies.
Yeah, the numbers are just they almost don't make sense to me. I mean, it's staggering. And obviously it's very flattering that many people have come out and bought the record.
And I think I'm actually responsible for 2 or 3 of those numbers. I've worn a couple copies of that out myself.
Yeah, well, had it been released originally, if they had CDs, then we probably wouldn't have sold as many because you can't wear those out.
Right.
But I guess we were lucky that all they had was vinyl back in those days. So, and I have heard from people who said that they've worn their copies out. So, well, again, it's very flattering and it just amazes me because the fact that we've never done any videos, we're not the kind of band where nobody recognizes me wherever I go here locally, except the people that right. I know here. But so we're not recognizable faces and celebrities, kind of in that sense. It's great when we do a tour. People come to the shows, because of the music, and when we're off, we're kind of Joe Schmo, I guess, which is really nice. It's kind of best of both worlds.
Yeah, not a lot of artists with your type of success can say that.
Yeah, so worked out pretty well, all in all, I have to say.
You mentioned being a sort of an anonymous star. How did you get nominated as one of PETA's sexiest vegetarians alive?
Maybe they had a small list to choose from, and I hate to consider myself in competition with Tom, certainly. But someone told me about that too. See, I find out about all these things secondhand.
Yeah, I got a notice on some news board that you and Tom had both been nominated for that honor. Now
I got to think who else is up for that. I'm not holding my breath expecting to win that.
Corporate America, your new album that came out, it's been a little over a year ago. It's done pretty well. It's done okay, and that was another reason it was very important. Tom felt it was very important that we go out and tour this summer to kind of let people know about it that hadn't heard about it. And I think we've managed to turn quite a few people onto it on the road this year. People that maybe were I've run into people in the course of the tour, who came to the show to hear the older songs, which of course we play as well. But there was a certain percentage there that didn't realize we had a new CD out. So, and I was really kind of excited when it came out because of the fact that while I think it's a very recognizable, the sound of it, and that's Tom's production stamp on there. There's no mistaking it's a Boston record. But the material, we have some new writers in the band. Anthony Cosmo, Fran's son, actually notably wrote 3 of the new songs on it. And our bass player, Kimberly Dom, who's terrific, has probably the most un-Boston-like song on the CD. But I have to say it was probably one of the most popular songs that we did on the tour. People really loved hearing it. It's almost all acoustic. I know the song you're talking about. There's some guitars come in at the end of it. It's called "With You." Yes, I've dug deep into that CD and enjoyed it. It was interesting to me to notice that you had no writing credits on the latest album. No, I guess with everything else that was going on, and I'm kind of content when I go into work with Tom. I met Tom. The first record came out in '76, but we had been working together since, I guess, around 1970. And over that period of time, we've always worked pretty much exclusively one-on-one. When I go in to do vocals, it's just he and I in the studio. He doesn't have other engineers. And so I have a pretty good idea going in of what he maybe, likes to hear from me. And he has a very good idea of what I can and cannot sing. So it's always interesting for me to go in and work with him. As I say, working with Barry is fun because there I always get the music first from Barry. He'll always give me just the instrumental tracks, and then I can kind of have fun with it. And with Tom, it's interesting because he always usually has a very good idea of what he wants me to do, and it's interesting to see how his thought process works, because a lot of times maybe it isn't something that I would have thought of,
on my own. So it's interesting from that standpoint.
Well, hopefully we'll see you guys back out on the road this summer, and I hope we can bring you back to Little Rock for sure. You've really made me hungry for another Boston tour.
Oh, I hope so too. I'm really looking forward to it. I hope it's this summer.
Is any of the show, the football playoff game, going to be televised? Any part of your
that I don't know. I think it. Well, there's local broadcasts and then there's a national broadcast. Right. So I don't really know if it's on their schedule. But for me, the great thing about it is I get to go to the game. So I may regret it if we have to sit outside.
Well, Tom Brady has been very impressive this year for a Patriots fan.
You know, the games have been great, and you wouldn't realize not living in Boston, but with the curse of the Bambino with the Red Sox, and until the advent of Bill Belichick and actually when we had Bill Parcells here and went to the Super Bowl, but it's only recently that we've had some sports teams up here that we can really shout about.
Right.
And it's so much fun this season watching the game. You're not being a Boston sports fan. You're kind of predisposed to think the worst. And this year it hasn't been like that. And so many of these games have come right down to like the final play.
Yes, they have.
So they've been exciting. And fortunately, all but two of them we've come out on the winning end of it. So,
Brad, I appreciate your time today.
Hey, it's my pleasure. It's great talking with you. And like I say, I hope we'll get to see you somewhere down the road here, hopefully. On the road.
Thank you so much for your time, Brad.
Hey, it's my pleasure.